children of the night. What music they make.
They're all gonna laugh at you!
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
What's up?
I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash you a bit.
And Final Guys is back. Aren't you excited? I know I am. I am horror author Jason Brant, joined as always by Monster Man Jack Campisi.
So excited, and I just can't hide it.
And we believe Hunter Shea has had some kind of a syphilis outbreak, some kind of flare-up. He wasn't super informative, so we're just going to go with that.
Yeah, you know, something that was dormant came out. It'll go back down.
He should be back next week looking a little worse for the wear.
He probably didn't watch the movie, and he's just skipping.
Yeah, he's going to be like, oh, I really liked it, guys. So this week, we are talking Satanic Panic. A little different from last week's gigantic It Chapter 2 down to this. There's no way they spent $1 million on this, right?
Yeah, tiny little movie.
Yeah, very small. So it's going to be a nice change of pace. But before we get into the news, you got anything going on, Jack, you want to throw out there?
I got nothing. So I noticed you have something big to announce.
I finally have released this freaking book. It has taken me so goddamn long, but it's out there. I'm sure sales are crap. So please.
What's it called?
It is called Decayed. It is the 5th book in my Hunger series. And if you haven't been reading that, well, then you're a smart person. But
and this is on Amazon and anywhere else?
Everywhere. I love how everyone always has to drag out of me how you can get a hold of my stuff.
So that's what I'm doing. I'm interviewing you like an author interview. So is it ebook? Is it hard paperback? What's the format?
It is ebook and paperback right now. It will be an audio, but my narrator works slower than I do, so it'll probably be a year and a half if I'm lucky. So
everybody go out and get it, and then tell them how much you like it.
Yes, I need to feed my wife. She likes to eat. So, but that's pretty much it on my end. You got anything going on?
No, I'm just ready to talk about some horror movies. I watched some good stuff this week, so I'm very excited to talk about what I watched.
I did not, so I can't wait for you to give me good stuff to go watch next week. Before you do, I see Sheridan just slid in with the drinking rules at the last second. Nice job, man. So, Jack, your words are Remain, Effects, and Bell. We won't read the idiots. And mine are Final, Book, and Delivery. And the bonus words are Sam, Sacrifice, and Tips. So, somebody knew I had a book coming out.
Awesome.
All right, give me some freaking horror news, man.
Okay. So you're a big fan of The Stand, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
All right, so you know that they're making, CBS All Access is making a series.
Yeah, I can't wait for them to make that, which I won't watch.
Right, I don't have it. But Alexander Skarsgård has been announced as playing Randall Flagg. He's the
interesting
hunky blonde guy from True Blood.
Yeah.
And seems like a good choice. But is that who McConaughey played in the Dark Tower? Is that the same character?
Yes, same guy. And the made-for-TV movie from the 90s, the dude had a sweet mullet. I can't remember the actor's name, but...
That wasn't Gary Sinise, was it?
No. I can't remember.
He was in the one about the plague.
The Stand is about the plague, too, yeah. But I think Gary Sinise plays the main guy, the hero, Stu, I think is his name. But I haven't seen that since it came out. My recollection of it's pretty vague.
Some other people in the cast. Whoopi Goldberg is playing Mother Abigail. Is that good casting?
I mean, it should be if she doesn't, spout off about politics or something in the middle of it.
If it's like Star Trek: The Next Generation, Whoopi Goldberg versus The View, Whoopi Goldberg.
Exactly. No, she should be able to pull off the look at the least, and she's a good actress when she tries.
Now, I don't know who this last person is playing, but this is the reason why I might want to tune into this. Amber Heard's going to be in it.
In a CBS All Access show.
I just found this out like yesterday.
Skarsgård.
And there's no details about it.
What? This is a huge cast.
They got some firepower on this.
On a show that no one, for a network nobody subscribes to. This is crazy.
Right. Well, listen, NBC just announced that they're doing their own streaming platform now. It's going to be called Peacock. I'm like, oh, great. Another place where I'm not going to subscribe to and miss a bunch of shows.
Yeah, I saw they're going to redo Battlestar Galactica. I'm like, that's a great idea.
Oh, you jumped to the next news piece.
Right. Clairvoyant.
The segue. So, the second piece of news, were you a fan of either the original Battlestar Galactica or the reboot?
I was too young to see the original when it first came out. So I saw it later and was shocked at how ridiculous it was. The remake when was that, like 2004, something like that?
Let me see if I have it. Yeah.
One of the best television shows I've ever watched the whole way through. I mean, the end disappointed some people. There were a couple episodes in there I wasn't a huge fan of towards the end, but as a whole, I mean, they just nailed that show. It was just incredible.
It got a little weird at the end.
Yeah, some of the Starbucks stuff was getting a little bizarre, but, they didn't Game of Thrones it, so...
They did also almost Joss Whedon-like introduce a just bevy of incredibly beautiful and talented actresses from that.
Oh, yeah.
So Tricia Helfer and Grace Park and the one who played Starbuck.
Why can't I think of her name?
We're
going to get slagged in the comments for that.
And Richard Hatch from the original was in the...
he was great. Yeah, it's just a great show.
So,
if you've never watched it, I mean, it's unreal what they did.
There's a big twist, I don't know, towards the end that is humongous. And that was kind of like, when it first happened, you're like, wait, no way. And then they kind of, it did elevate it, I think.
Yeah, it was so good.
So I think Roy Moore is the one who created the 2004 series, and the guy who's behind Mr. Robot, Sam Esmail, the guy behind Mr. Robot, is doing this, and it's supposed to be, I don't know if it's directly linked to or inspired by the later series, the more recent series, not the original series.
So it might not be a reboot.
It's unclear
remake.
whether this is going to be a remake, reboot, or sequel. I can't tell, but it's it was going to explore a new story within the mythology.
Okay.
So that sounds like
an offshoot
sequel or something in shared universe.
I've never seen
like
Mr. Robot. Is that Amazon?
I think that was that HBO? I think that was HBO.
Oh, yeah, like I said, I've never seen it. I have no idea.
I watched the first 2 seasons, and I have the 3rd season DVR'd. Mr. Robot's whacked.
Okay, it's whacked. Okay. I just looked her up. Katie Sackhoff.
Katie Sackhoff.
Oh, I cannot believe I forgot.
So anyway, that should be interesting. I'm old enough to remember the original Battlestar Galactica, and that was, you were Jones in Star Wars, and then they basically created a Star Wars-like TV show. So I had the comic books and watched every episode and loved it, and just to draw Vipers and Cylons on my notebooks and stuff like that. It only lasted like a year. Then they did like a reboot or a sequel series in 1980, Galactica 80 or something, that was terribly different guys. So it was kind of like when Bo and Luke left the Dukes of Hazzard, replaced them with 2 guys who looked just like Starbuck and Apollo, and it sucked. So
yeah, not a big fan of the original. Cool idea.
Yeah. The last piece of news. So you know how the Dark Universe tanked with the Universal Monster reboot.
Yep.
So let's see, was it Paul Feig?
Feig
or Feige?
God, no.
Is creating a movie called Dark Army. It's a monster movie that he's writing and directing. And where the heck is where's the line? After the Mummy Underworld, blah, blah, blah. It's going to have some universal monsters in it, but it's also going to have some other monsters that are, I think, new. I don't know if it's going to link to this Invisible Man that Blumhouse is doing, but they're I think what they're going to try and do is just do movies that might have loose connective tissue, as they say in this article. But basically this is gonna, I guess, be kind of a standalone movie that maybe there's other movies. Look, when you watched any monster movie when you were a kid, you were always aware that, you know, there could be other parts of the world where the vampires or werewolves or something like that. They didn't have to be so slavish to mythology and then just create a thing. Dracula versus Frankenstein, and, you know, in 5 minutes at the beginning of the movie, they just explained, well, we're going to Transylvania, so there's going to be vampires.
Yeah, exactly. We've talked this to death, but yeah, they were trying to make it too interconnected. And it's like, just make some good movies, and then you can do an Avengers thing at the end, and everyone will love it. You don't have to do all this crap they did.
It's monsters. If you just did American Werewolf in London, and then you did a vampire movie that had the same kind of tone, you know, you could, like, back then, like, you could have easily then made a third movie where some of the characters from both meet up and encounter a ghost. And everybody would be like, oh, cool, it's all connected.
Yep.
Sometimes you don't need to be so heavy-handed with the mythology.
Yeah, I don't really understand how they managed to screw this up, because you think you could get some pretty big heavy hitter directors if you just said, look, I want you to do a Dracula movie. I want you to do a Wolfman movie. I mean, all these guys grew up on this stuff, right? So I don't understand how they managed to screw it up one movie in. I guess 2 movies in, but
I just wonder, so Feige, he did Bridesmaids, Spy, The Heat, the new Ghostbusters. So is this going to be a comedy, or is it going to be a horror comedy?
Yes.
That seems like his sweet spot.
Yeah, it's going to be a brainless comedy starring women with the dumbest male characters of all time in it. That's what the guy does. It worked for a couple of movies, and then he managed to tank the entire epic franchise in one movie. So
Amy Schumer and Rihanna take on the vampires.
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait to see one of them take a crap in the street. Like, was that Bridesmaids or whatever? So the guy is, he definitely has a particular brand of movies that I wouldn't think would jive with this, but what do I know?
I just hope they, like, the Monster Squad was such a great recreation of the Universal monsters in modern times that if he can do something of that tone, but now, would that be fun? But we'll see.
Not holding my breath.
All right, that's all I got.
All right. Ready to jump into a little reviews?
We got it.
We have such sights to show you.
All right, because we don't have Knucklehead, and I was doing some traveling, and I had a book release, so my numbers are a little low. I feel a little bit like a waste, but I still got 3 things. All right, I'll go first, since you were giving us some sad Paul Feige news, or however you say his name.
The Battlestar Galactica was going to be the last news, but then you kind of jumped to it, so I had to pivot.
Yeah, I screwed up your whole flow. All right.
Screw me, a step on my news.
I finally have finished the Nightmare on Elm Street run through.
I can't wait.
Because we're not going to do the remake, because I watched it not that long ago. I didn't like it, and I don't want to watch it. So,
Katie Cassidy is the only reason to watch that movie.
I don't even remember.
She's the blonde at the beginning.
All right, so I had to watch Wes Craven's New Nightmare to finish the original run. And it's pretty much exactly what I remember. It's a very, very cool idea that is not executed all that well. But it's super meta. It's meta, bro. In that Wes Craven is kind of... Well, first of all, he's written himself into the movie. So Freddy is some kind of demon that he managed to trap in his movie. When he made this movie about this dream demon, he trapped him in that form. And a new idea has hit Wes Craven, and he's writing this new movie with Freddy, and it's pulling him into the real world, something like that. So you have Heather Langenkamp playing herself. You have Wes Craven playing himself. You have, was it Robert Shea? Was he the guy who was the producer of all of them? Lynn Shea's brother or something?
I don't know.
I think Robert Shea. Anyway, so you have all these...
Not Hunter Shea.
Well, the acting would be on par. So that's one of my biggest issues with this movie is it's a cool idea. The trapping the demon in the story thing's kind of dumb, but having a character from a movie you were in kind of come into the real world to try to kill you is a neat idea. I like it. So I like where it's coming from. There's so many non-actors in this that every time they have extended scenes, it's just so painful to watch. The acting in this is terrible. Story's cool, but man, when you get to the third act, it is just 90s terrible CG, just regular Freddy Krueger stuff from the crappy movies that they pulled in. And this is going to sound dumb, and it is dumb, but you can see how Wes Craven 2 years later did Scream, which was also very meta and flipped the whole genre on its head because it was so smart and so well done. You can see the genesis of that, the kernels of that in this, but at the same time, it's hard to believe that the guy who does Scream 2 years later did this thing, which isn't very good. Like the final product of this just does not work all that well.
There are some people out there that like love this movie and think it's so brilliant.
It's a cool idea, but man, parts of it just don't work.
I'm a big Freddy fan, but to be honest, I love 1 and 3, and then I can slog through other ones, basically just waiting for the Freddy parts and not paying attention to the rest. I love the one-liners and the kills, and basically walked out of every other movie like, nah, that wasn't that great, because it never lived up to 3. This one was, I think, the one I was just like, oh, what the hell was that? And thank God Freddy versus Jason happened eventually.
It's, it's not bad. It's not as bad as the other ones, but it's not very good either. And I'm glad I'm done with this. I will never watch these movies again. I will watch 1 and I will watch 3, the ones I always watch. I am freaking done forever. I don't care if my nieces or I have kids someday and they want to watch these. You're doing it on your own. I'm not doing this again.
I want to watch this one again sometime, but I haven't found it like on Netflix or something where it's free. It's always like I got to pay a couple of bucks to watch it. And I'm just like, nope. Once I see it like on Prime or something, then I'll pull the trigger one afternoon and watch it.
It was on Shudder for a week. I don't know what the hell happened. The whole series is gone.
Yeah.
So.
But like in October, I'll probably watch Dream Warriors as part of the Halloween marathon. So
it's really incredible the goodwill 1 and 3 made that kept this series going through some of the freaking worst movies. I mean, it's incredible how people were like, you know what? 2 wasn't good though, and 3 was. So maybe this one will buck the trend. No, just stop at 3. All right, what do you got?
Okay, I got some great ones. I'm going to start with the pinnacle. I watched Sleepaway Camp 2. You ever see this movie?
No. I didn't like the first one, except for the end. The ending is amazing, and it makes the movie memorable, but no, I never wanted to go on.
Yeah, so Sleepaway Camp, I saw it like back in the day, the video store day, and it's like a classic, even though it's, I don't know where it is on the pantheon of good and bad slashers, but it's a classic. And that ending scene is
it's unreal.
And I don't know if I've ever seen any of the sequels start to finish, or if I just thought like, oh, this is on and whatever. So this was a concerted, like, I'm going to watch Sleepaway Camp 2 because we've been talking about sequels so much. So the disappointing thing about this is that Felicia Rose is not playing Angela in this.
Is she in it at all?
The girl from the first. She's not in it. And I guess I read on Wikipedia or something that she auditioned or whatever, read for it, but I think she was about to go to college. So the timing was bad for her. And also this movie it pivots to comedy. It's a much lighter toned horror movie. And I don't think she was matching up with the tone that they wanted to go with. So as a person who really likes her, especially now, if you follow her on like social media, she's awesome. She's always hanging out with Joe Bob, and
she's amazing.
And
I mean, have you seen her on the new show where she's the mangled dick expert who calls in anytime there's male nudity?
I haven't seen
it's
it.
Amazing. Yet. She's hilarious. She's got a great personality.
I think the way that they filmed that, I got to go back and look. I heard somebody talking about this on a podcast. I think that's like a guy naked with a mask of her on his face.
It's convincing.
So anyway, Sleepaway Camp 2. Yeah. Well, listen, I remember when I was, a teenager when I saw that movie, we were just like, what the hell did I just see? And so when you think about Sleepaway Camp, it doesn't matter what the rest of the movie. There's some kills, but then that friggin' ending happens. Then Hunter and I, like this summer, after filming some Monster Men, we watched that, and we had a blast watching it. And so watch this. So the disappointing part is that it's not Felicia Rose, but after that, it is kind of like, I don't know if like Meatballs or Porky's meets Friday the 13th, because basically it is a super duper 80s slasher movie with kill after kill. Basically, Felicia or whatever, Angela, is a camp counselor at another camp about 60 miles away from the original camp. It's like years later, and she's a counselor, and nobody realizes that she's the one that there's legends about the other camp. And basically, anytime a camper misbehaves or breaks the rules, she kills them. And then tells everybody, oh, I sent them home.
Okay.
So this is a great movie to watch with friends and enjoy the kills and the light tone and just have fun with it. So I was expecting a much more, like, you know how the Texas Chainsaw Massacre we were talking about, it was kind of weird and all that. This is just a flat out more fun. There's a lot of kills, so you're never really getting bored. And if you can just get over the original girl not being in it, it's worth a look. It's fun.
This is a nice catch here because I see it's free on Prime, but it's leaving on the 30th of September. So,
jump on that.
You've got 2 weeks if you want to watch this. I might have to check this out. Like I said, I think I said I don't like the first one, and that's not right. It's not that I don't like it. It's just that it wasn't paced well, and it wasn't a movie that made me want to just keep going back to it. But I will never, ever forget the first time I watched it and saw that ending. So,
yeah, it's not when you watch. It's not like Dream Warriors where you can pop it in anytime you want, or some of the Friday the 13th. Right. The Friday the 13th are really uneven too. There's a couple that you can like. I'll throw that in any other times, and certain ones you're like, oh god, I don't want to watch this one.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So, yeah, Sleepaway Camp 2, go for it.
I think I'm going to do that. That sounds kind of fun. All right. So I went back. My poor wife. It's like, all right, we have one more Freddy movie. She really is not like these. Freddy vs. Jason. And I had to explain to her, if you grew up watching this shit, this was the movie. It was teased forever. No one actually thought it would happen. And when it came out, we were all just shitting our pants. So excited. The trailers.
I saw this in the theater.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah. I think I was in college when this came out. So I was setting the stage, like she's watching this now 15, 20 years after the series are just dead and gone. Nobody cares anymore. Here's the thing. Everyone I saw this with really loved it when we watched it, and I didn't. I thought it was okay at best. I was pretty let down with it. So I was curious to see if rewatching it where I would be. This is a really terrible movie. Like, it's so much worse than I remember it being. I think the hype when I watched it the first time brought it up to okay for me, but it's everything I hated about 90s horror movies with the slick, beautiful kids and everyone seems rich, and it just doesn't look good. And I was thinking of this as watching it for the first hour. This is just 90210. There's almost no Freddy or Jason. They never fight until an hour in, and then it's in a dream. It's just... the script is so incomprehensibly bad. I don't understand how it took them like 15 years to get to this is what we're going to film. It felt like there must have been 50 scripts, and they took one scene from each one and just put them together. And whoever finally settled on this, I don't think has ever watched a Friday the 13th movie. In this, one of the main characters says, in one of the best lines of dialogue you'll ever hear, Freddy's afraid of fire. Jason's afraid of water. How can we use this to our advantage? It's like, first of all, Jason is not afraid of water at all. Like, where does that come from?
Because he drowned his little kid.
Yeah, he's in the lake in every goddamn movie. What are you he swims to New York City in part 8 somehow. So it's so bad. But I will say, every time you see Jason and Freddy in the same shot, I'm still like, oh, I can't believe they pulled this off. Like, this movie sucks, but they pulled this off. So I still kind of got a little bit of that feeling. But the other thing this has that I freaking hate is processed slow motion in every goddamn fight scene. They didn't shoot it in slow motion. They like slowed it down after, and it looks like shit. What the fuck? And there's a reason this dude never really went on to do much else. He did like Bride of Chucky before this. I think that's how he got this. And then just kind of faded into doing a few other small movies. To me, this, watching it again, is the biggest lost opportunity. I mean, Freddy is literally breaking the fourth wall, talking to the character, explaining plot points multiple times in this movie. I just don't get it. Robert Englund is giving it his freaking all in this, though. Kudos to him. He crushes what terrible shit they give him. And the other thing, and then I'll kick this over to you. This movie's missing Kane Hodder.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's missing Kane Hodder so badly. But like I said, this director must have been a big Freddy guy, because the Freddy stuff is so much better than the Jason stuff. Is just, he basically is just a lumbering nothing. He doesn't
look right. He doesn't look right at all.
No, it's just there is no performance. That guy must have told him, just stand there, swing the machete. That's all you do. You just swing the machete. Had Kane Hodder been in this, it would have maybe pumped up the Jason parts a little more. Maybe would have made it a little more interesting. But there are cool set pieces. I mean, when he's killing people while he's on fire, that Jason thing is cool. Freddy does some fun stuff with some of the characters, but it's not good, man.
So I have a soft spot for this movie, because it is such a miracle it ever happened. I too, though, was let down by it, because I missed Kane Hodder. Basically, I like the scenes with Freddy and Jason.
Mm-hmm. There's 5 minutes of that.
And Freddy's pretty vicious in this movie, like when he's just like chasing a girl around and everything. That girl was in Entourage. Yeah, that girl, the main girl, was in Entourage, and I remember watching it going, I know her from somewhere. And I like IMDb'd. I'm like, oh, it's the Freddy versus Jason girl. I love a couple of parts of this movie. Number one, I love when Freddy goes into Jason's dream and he's like messing with him. Mm-hmm. I think that's awesome. I love the big fight at the end. But the dialogue with the kids is so ridiculous.
It's so bad.
Laugh a lot. There's a part where they're all hanging out and they're figuring things out. And one of them just is like, maybe Freddy is using Jason, blah, blah, blah. How anybody could know this.
It's so bad.
And he basically just like speculates the plot. I remember seeing it in the theater and just like laughing. Like, that's the greatest exposition I've ever seen in my life. Like, there's no way anybody could think of that.
No, it makes no sense. And somehow they're all aware of both Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger. What?
Yeah.
It was so bad.
This is another one that it's really one to watch, just kind of fast forward and watch the good parts.
I would be curious. How long has it been since you've seen it?
A couple of years.
Okay. Okay. So it hasn't been that long. It had been since release, since I'd seen
I don't know. It's been anywhere from 2 to 4 years since I was there. I'll pop it in October and watch it for. I got the DVD for my birthday years back, so I'll find it in the pile and watch it.
You know, I think had they gone a little darker with some of the stuff, and just get rid of these freaking kids, like, oh my god, there was so much potential here, and I'm amazed they made it. And there's some stuff in it I like, but for the most part, I was just super disappointed.
I think I just figured it out, though. It's so much better than anything else especially the Elm Street. I can watch 1, I can watch 3, and I can watch this.
Okay. No, that makes sense. We must have said while we were watching this last night, I don't know how many times, this is the 3rd best Freddy movie.
Yeah.
And this is crap. And this is the 3rd best.
But yeah, it's not like I watch it all the time. It's just... I got a good Freddy fix out of it, I think, and I like Freddy. Mm-hmm. And again, if you talk to me on Hunter hates Freddy, and he hates the one-liners and all that stuff. That's why I like Freddy. Mm-hmm. For me, I would watch a horror movie and we would toast every time somebody, whether it was a good kill. So Freddy was like just playing right into that. He was kill somebody and do a one-liner. It's almost like you had Schwarzenegger doing it in action movies and Freddy doing it in horror movies. So I like that. So I got a good Freddy fix. But yeah, I'm not putting this thing up on a pedestal or anything like that.
Yeah, it's a thing. What else you got?
Okay, I don't know what year this movie is. It might be like 1974. But in my web surfing, especially when I'm like looking for news and things like that, or just hitting horror sites, I'll see something, I'll click on something, and before I know it, I've found my way to YouTube or some other friggin' site.
Mm-hmm.
And I stumbled upon an article or something about a movie called Count Dracula's Great Love, which it's an early 70s Spanish vampire movie.
That's super niche.
I'm going
man.
to say 1974, but actually, let me see if I got the...
1970 Spanish Dracula movie.
73 or 74. And I watched the trailer for it, and it had this like goofy trailer. So I was like, you know what? I gotta remember this one. And then I came home the night that I had done this, and I was like tired, and I was like, I gotta watch something. And I'm flicking around, and nothing's jumping at me in Netflix, and I go, let me just see. I couldn't find it, and I looked on YouTube, and there it is. So I watch a crappy copy on YouTube. It's dubbed, and if you look it up, there's the director has like made other horror movies. I had such a blast watching this movie. You know me, I love old vampire movies like this. It looks like a Hammer movie, but it's so goofy. And the first 5 minutes of the movie are worth the price of admission. These guys are these two guys are taking a big box to deliver to this like old abandoned insane asylum or something and when they deliver it, they're supposed to just drop it off and leave it for the owner, but they decide to open it and there's a skeleton inside this coffin. They decide to explore the house and maybe loot it a little bit, and suddenly a caped guy runs up and attacks one of them and kills him. Basically, a dude in a Dracula suit. And then the other guy runs away, and he goes up the stairway, and as he comes around a corner, he gets hit in the head with an axe. And then, dude, you gotta watch. Just go on YouTube and watch this. The opening credits of this movie is like somewhere from 3 to 5 minutes of credits, and they just keep showing the guy falling down the stairs over and over and over again. It's amazing. I was like, what the hell is going on here?
Was it supposed to be funny, or is it just like terrible?
It's just an old vampire movie. I don't think these when you watch a lot of these like Hammer movies and older vampire movies, a lot of the time it feels like they kind of knew the rules and they were writing, and then there was just some stuff they were like, and then this kind of happens because vampires.
Okay.
You know, so then like this carriage of a guy and like, I think it's 3 or 4 beautiful women who are in like Disney princess gowns. Literally, they look like, you ever see like where they show all the Disney princesses together, and one's in a pink and one's in a blue and one's in a yellow. It literally looks like they're in Disney princess gowns for the prom. And their stagecoach breaks down, and they end up at this castle where they meet this guy, this doctor, who owns the castle, and he takes them in for the night. And sure enough, one of the guys who died at the beginning attacks somebody in the hallway. He's a vampire now. And it turns out the guy who owns the castle or whatever is really Dracula. And so one by one, people are getting attacked by vampires. And now you know me, beautiful, busty vampire women. I'm just like in heaven. And there's some skin in this movie on YouTube. I was like, whoa.
Wow.
There's some adult content. So then this other amazing thing happens. The plot gets, Dracula wants to resurrect his dead daughter by some ritual. And what has to happen is a virgin has to fall in love with him without him using his powers. And one of these girls happens to be a virgin. And this always takes place over the course of like 2 days or something. but he manages to kind of get this woman to fall in love with her. But he like imprisons her and stuff like that, and her friends are becoming vampires and everything. And it has, I'm not going to give away the ending, but it has one of the most ridiculous endings of a vampire movie I've ever seen in my life. And there's times where he's talking to her, but it's also exposition, and he's not moving his mouth. It's like he's walking towards her, and I guess it's mental telepathy, but he's like, and now you must become my prisoner because Dracula never truly dies. He only returns as horror, and says all this like gibberish, but he's also explaining stuff and talking to her without, and it's like, so there keeps happening like this wacky telepathy exposition stuff. So listen, I love going back and watching these old ones. This was a find. I had a blast watching this goofy, weird, sexy vampire movie from 1973 or 4.
The dialogue
Dracula's
you're describing
great.
sounds like the freaking Freddy vs. Jason intro. Freddy's explaining everything. I'm going to have to watch this. This sounds hilarious. So this is like
It's
a
hilarious.
so bad it's good kind of thing?
It could be. It could be. It's wacky. Listen, I enjoy, as a horror fan, especially going back and watching it. I was literally watching it like, whoa. Yeah, watch it. Let's talk.
All right. Well, I'm updating our links because I had it go onto the Blu-ray on Amazon. But for those of you who check the website or the YouTube show notes, I put links to everything we talk about on here. So I'm putting the YouTube link. So go watch it for free.
Check out. There's a couple of different versions on YouTube, and so there's like one that's better than the other.
Okay.
I can't. I'm just telling people if they listen. So Dracula's great. Count Dracula's great love.
That sounds amazing. I hope I managed to mute myself for most of my coughing fit there. Whatever the hell hit me. It's kicking my ass. All right, let me get through this last one quick. I don't know why. I'm basically just going through these movies, these slashers, and on Amazon, because I'm watching all this crap, Hatchet pops up. And I realized I've never seen any of the Hatchet movies.
I saw the first one.
I somehow didn't see these. I don't know how, because Adam Green directed this. I think he wrote it. And I've not gone deep into the Adam Green stuff. What was the one we both watched last year? Digging Up the Marrow or something? Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
That movie was...
I saw Digging the Mirror or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. So I thought, all right, I'm going to check out Hatchet. This was a bit of a breath of fresh air because it was funny. It did not take itself seriously at all, which I didn't expect. I thought this was going to be some kind of hard... Because I've seen clips of it, some of the kills, which are extremely hardcore. But this was funny. This had his sense of humor throughout it, and I liked it a lot. Kane Hodder as Victor Crowley.
Is Tony Todd in that?
Yes, he has a cameo at the very beginning where he's swearing a lot. But the humor is the best part of this. So if you're looking for something that's... it's a throwback in that it's all practical kills. It's got one of the best kills I've ever seen in a slasher where he literally grabs... You said you have seen this?
I saw this. When I saw it, I don't think I was ready for it because I was pretty lukewarm on it.
It's not the greatest thing I've ever seen, but I just watched all the Freddy movies. So this was like a big jump. He grabs this woman's head by her jaw and just rips her head in half. And it is so well done. I was kind of shocked. So this wasn't my favorite movie by any means. And the version on Amazon looked like, I don't know if it was the camera they used because it's a low budget movie or they didn't upload a great copy of it, but it didn't look great. It wasn't terrible or anything, but it's fun. And to be honest, it made me want to watch the next ones, but they're not on Prime. So now I have to decide, do I want to spend a couple bucks to keep this sucker going? But I appreciate the effort. Not bad. Not bad.
Cool. Maybe I'll revisit that one.
It's on Prime.
All right. My last movie. When I was a kid, I'm going to say maybe a teenager. I can't remember. Let me see what year this movie is. I'm going to go back to the list. 1981. So I don't know if I didn't see this in 81, but probably somewhere around 81. I watched, it's on Shudder now, so I revisited it. Hell Night with Linda Blair. You ever see this movie?
No, I don't think I have.
So I remember being at my grandmother's house, and my little cousin, who's now grown up and in marketing, but she was like a baby or like 2 years old or something like that. And I remember we were hanging out, and she was kind of like cuddling with me and fell asleep. And I had a horror movie on at my grandmother's house, and it was Hell Night. And I remember watching Hell Night, and just like it was a part of me like, yeah, that Linda Blair movie I was watching, like trying to make sure the kid wasn't looking at the TV and stuff like that. And it's basically a fraternity or a sorority or whatever, college hazing. And so the new pledges, Linda Blair, another girl, and two guys, they get locked in this mansion. There's a legend that there was a family where the father killed the mutant kids and then himself in the mansion. And then there's kind of a castle freak thing going on where the pledges get locked in the castle. The other college people are like trying to haunt the house on them. They're not allowed to leave for 6 hours. But living in the catacombs is like mutant slasher from the legend. So it was kind of like what I remembered it being, just like a slasher movie. It kind of haunted house slasher kind of movie. I remember Linda Blair grown up. But what I didn't remember was, if you do watch this movie, don't be afraid to use the fast forward button, because
it's always what I want to hear.
Here's the thing is, they really, when they get on a staircase to walk downstairs, they show the entire walk downstairs and through the hallway or whatever. And then they really, when people die, there's a whole lot of people stumbling upon the dead body and reacting to a dead body. But there's some great like 80s slasher stuff going on here as well. So I definitely recommend checking this out. It's a good one for the horror movie fan to have under their belt. It's on Shudder. Check out Linda Blair. It's got one of the Van Patten kids who looks like the blonde bully from either Back to School or Karate Kid. He looks like one of those guys. He's one of like Dick Van Patten's kids. He's in it. So it's a good, wacky 80s sci-fi. 80s slasher movie. But pacing-wise, you're going to get more bang for your buck with Sleepaway Camp 2 than Hell Night. But you should definitely check out Hell Night. It's a good slasher flick to have under your
I don't know
belt.
how I've never heard of that, to be honest. I'm going to have to...
Yeah, Linda Blair.
Huh.
You may remember her from The Exorcist 2, The Heretic.
Oh, man. The other day when we were talking about the worst sequels ever, that escaped my mind, because that's worse than anything. I mean, that's one of the worst movies I've ever watched.
She's also in Roller Boogie.
What was the women in prison? Chained Heat? Wasn't that her?
Oh, is she in Chained Heat?
I feel like she was, but I could be wrong.
Ooh, I smell main feature.
But we digress. You ready to get into some Satanic Panic?
Let's get into some Satanic Panic.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
So I hope everybody got to tell. My wife came home. I tried to mute right away, but I'm sure some barks got through. It's always fun. You
got coughing, you got dogs.
Hey, man, I'm nothing if not professional. All right. You want to summarize this little indie
This
film?
one's easy. There's a girl who started as a job as a pizza delivery person, and she is having no luck with tips. And then a call comes in from for an order for pizzas that's outside their zone in a very rich neighborhood. Nobody else wants the job, so she takes it, jumps on her Vespa or whatever it is, drives out to deliver the pizzas. And it turns out she is delivering pizzas to a group of wealthy people, and they don't tip her. Her Vespa won't start, so she goes back to confront them about tipping her so that she can pay for gas or use their phone, or I forget exactly what. Anyway, she stumbles upon a satanic ritual and ends up being chased by a satanic cult because, as you learn in the trailer, she is a virgin and they happen to need a virgin for the ceremony. Comedy and horror ensue.
There you go. I love these movies where the girl's a virgin, and it's like there is a 0.0% chance you got through high school a virgin. But
this movie does a good job, though, later on of kind of explaining.
Oh, it does. It does. So, what did you think?
So I had high expectations for this. Started watching it and felt like I was getting pretty pedestrian horror comedy that it was getting an E for effort, but it wasn't executing the jokes well. It was kind of like it was trying and not landing, or it was just okay. And then for me, I don't know if it was halfway through the movie or somewhere in there, it kind of goes harder on the horror, and the humor just kind of flows better once they kind of go more pedal to the metal with the horror, and it's very over the top and kind of wacky. And I know why the drinking word was effects, because there's some great practical effects that are reminiscent of older like 80s and 90s horror movies that I was like, yes, it's not CG.
Yep.
I'd rather see the head come off of a mannequin than, a cartoon head come off of something. So for me, the movie was rescued in the second half, and overall I enjoyed it. And I thought Rebecca Romijn was the heart and soul of the movie. Like I thought she crushed it and she carried it, as well as her right hand person in the cult.
I agree for the most part, except the humor was landing more for me at the beginning. I think part of the problem was the jokes were just like super rapid fire, so maybe you didn't have time to let some of them percolate as much. But again, I have just gone through 6 weeks of watching some rough stuff. So, a humor not land. So I knew nothing about this. You guys had mentioned watching it. I'd heard of it. I had not read any reviews. I had not seen any trailers. I didn't know who was in it. I knew nothing. So I went in blind, and I just came out so happy. This is the kind of movie I feel like I've been waiting for most of the year, for something like this to drop, where I could just be like, something that was just this little indie film with, by the way, a freaking great cast. Holy crap. They must have stretched every penny they had to get some of these people, and I'll go down the list later. But just my overall thoughts were, I thought it was very funny. The practical effects were great, and I bet I know what scene you're talking about when they started pushing the horror. Was it when they were putting the spell on, I can't remember the character's name with the dark hair, and they had to start writing on her body to stop the spell from killing her? Because that was super intense.
Well, that part too, but there's a part where they basically are dealing with the body part of a person that has to be used in like a ritual, and it looks like a ham.
Yeah.
Like that. Once he started getting into that, once the cult outs her as a virgin and they start going after her, I think it keeps getting better and better and better from there. So I don't hate the beginning of the movie. I just noticed kind of a stark difference. I'm watching it go, and the problem with this is that it's in the shadow of Ready or Not. They're kind of similar movies, and Ready or Not is a better movie. It's better written, and it's better acted, and it has a bigger budget. This is like the little cousin of Ready or Not, and I could see, like, it was almost like Major League, Minor League.
Yeah, this is just it seems like a movie somebody put together through just willpower.
Yes, and so I loved it, and maybe there was just in the shadow of that, but literally, like there were just parts at the end that I was like, oh man, this movie just it went from 0 to 60 for me.
It did,
but I enjoyed the beginning, but I don't want to give anything away. We can talk about it in spoilers, but there's a part where there's a guy who likes her that kind of shows up again.
Mm-hmm.
I loved when he resurfaces. That was some awesome stuff going on there.
Yeah. This is Chelsea Stardust, the director. This is her first movie. She's done some shorts, but this is her first feature. So bravo. I mean, I was impressed.
I heard her in a couple of podcasts. She's on Mick Garris, this week, and she was on another one I listened to where they were like talking about it and stuff, and she seems pretty cool.
Okay. It was a name I'd never heard of, which is interesting.
It's not her real name. She took Stardust from She Loves David Bowie.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was some kind of weird LA, hippie name or something. I did see too in the post credits. I don't know if it was probably in the front of the movie too, but I missed it. Grady Hendrix wrote this, who is a novelist. I just read one of his books for the show earlier this year, and now I'm having trouble. Oh, We Sold Our Souls was a novel I read by him, so it was cool to see his name pop up here. We Sold Our Souls was an awesome book, also about some satanic cult stuff too, so he's got a theme going, and I dig it. So the cast in this that I wanted to just briefly go over, you've got Rebecca Romaine, which, to be honest, it looks like she's been doing a ton of TV over the last couple years, but I don't really watch TV, so I had no idea she was even still acting. So it's always good to see her. She still looks like $1 million.
I want her to do more horror.
She's good. She's really good in this. You've got a bunch of people that you'll recognize, but maybe not know their names. But AJ Bowen was in there. Jerry O'Connell has a cameo in this that is awesome.
Is AJ Bowen the woman, like her right hand?
AJ Bowen's a guy you've seen in tons of low budget horror movies. The Signal. He was in You're Next. I think he was the boyfriend in You're Next who brings her in.
What was the name of the sidekick?
You talking about the gypsy one?
The short girl who is competing to run the cult.
Sam? No, Gypsy. Wasn't it Gypsy?
Is her name
I think
Gypsy?
her name was Gypsy.
She's a comedic actress who's been in a lot of stuff I've seen.
Arden Mirren is her name. I didn't even know that was her name. Yeah, she was in Shameless and Orange is the New Black. She's really she's great. Jordan Ladd, who was in
Jordan Ladd, that's who that was. I'm looking at her going, who is that? I recognize her.
Well, Super Trooper she was in, maybe Cabin Fever. I think she was in Cabin Fever.
Jordan Ladd was.
Yeah, Jordan Ladd. So just tons of people in it that you're like, oh yeah, nice. Like they did a really good job peppering this with great character actors and people who've been in some
Jerry O'Connell's awesome in this movie.
He is. He's running around in his tidy whities for a pretty significant part. It's just hilarious. So,
and then is it Matthew Modine's daughter?
I have no idea.
One of the main actresses, not the delivery girl, but the other girl, is somebody's daughter. I think it might be Matthew Modine's daughter.
Ruby Modine. I didn't know that was his daughter. Okay, she's. I know her from Shameless and Happy Death Day, and she's great.
Oh, she's in Happy Death Day.
Yeah, she's. I don't want to give a spoiler, but she's significant to the story. Yeah, she's awesome. Okay, so.
Yeah, great cast. And the lead girl does a great job.
She does. She definitely does. And, before we get into spoilers or anything, I do want to say that I just appreciated seeing a movie just go for it with some of the gory stuff. And some of the ideas in this are freaking bonkers. There's the thing with the soul that's like, what? And they just, no inhibitions.
We keep saying how this year has been really slow for horror movies, and you're right. This was like a gift. You're like, oh, finally, like a nice little horror movie that I can just enjoy. It's clearly it's the love letter to horror fans, and so I want to support little movies like this. So I'm glad that we watch this and we're talking about it. You get people out there, so they keep making this kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is a great pick. I'm so happy you guys mentioned it, and I was like, all right, Satanic Panic, whatever. And then I'm watching it, like, damn, I probably would not have picked this. And
I mentioned it, not Hunter. He wanted to watch that other thing.
Yes, of course it was you. It would be something stupid if you had done it. So anyway, anything else you want to mention before we get into spoilers?
I got the bell. I think we're recommending this movie. And now if you haven't seen it and you don't want any spoilers, you're being warned with the spoiler bell. So go see the movie. If you want to hear spoilers or you saw it, you want to talk about it, stick around. If you did see it, let us know what you thought, because we're always curious as to, do people agree with us or they think we're nuts?
Well, I mean, we're always right, except for Hunter. So The one scene that really was cracking me up, it's super dark but hilarious, was the Jerry O'Connell scene where he decides in order to save her life, he has to rape her at gunpoint. And I'm just like watching this like, Jesus, this is so bonkers. And he's in his tighty whities chasing this girl around. And I just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, that scene's great because it's funny, but there's actual tension in it too.
Yeah, because the movie was just really starting to ramp up, you know, kind of going from the comedy thing, and that was a nice slide into it. Where it's like, ooh, this is a little intense.
And the thing with it kept, you know, it would change set pieces. So you went from that to then, like so Rebecca Romaine ends up taking Jerry O'Connell's heart, and that's what I was talking about. When she takes the heart and it does the spell, and then like pulls the thing out of the oven, and it's like pulsating, and she's releasing it as a demon, like to go hunt her, and she's like cutting it and everything. It literally looks like they used a ham with like Tom Savini's Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, she reaches in through a gunshot wound with her entire arm to pull his soul out or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, she was channeling like Morticia Addams and I don't know.
Yeah.
And some other killer. That was a good.
Before we move on from Jerry O'Connell, can I just say that when did this guy become such a treasure for horror movies? I mean, you've got this, and you've got his amazing performance in Piranha 3D. And why is this guy not being used in more of these small cameos for these movies? Because he kills it with these douchey, gross characters. He's just amazing in it.
Well, he's married to Rebecca Romaine, so that's probably what got him into this movie.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. Well, that works. Do more together. Shit.
Yeah.
And I see my wife just commented in the chat, but she said this last night too, that because Rebecca Romaine had some pretty legendary parties, I guess, with John Stamos back in the day, with lots of naked table dancing and shit, and God knows what else.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So she kept wondering, how far off is this from some of their parties, or is this just like a semi recreation of the shit they were doing in the 90s and 2000s or whatever?
That's awesome. So there's a scene then where Rebecca Romaine tries to kill her own daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And then this girl, the main girl, is it Sam? Is that her name?
Sure.
Yeah, because the Sam rule. Sam gets away from the first house, goes to another one, and this girl who's like her age, who's babysitting these two terrors, tries to drug her, while somebody else is like getting drilled up in the literally
drilled
in the bedroom. She rescues this girl in a very funny series of events, and so it's Rebecca Romaine's daughter. And the two of them team up, and this is another place where the movie escalates. And then when you said once they have this, they're trying to do like a voodoo doll spell on the daughter, and that scene that was great.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes of the year, to be honest. I thought it was so well done.
And she's telling the story of her life and this struggle with cancer and the relationship with the boy. And you always say like one of the great keys to writing or a character is that a character should have a secret. And even if you never reveal it to the public, if you know it, as the writer, but you can eventually reveal it. So with this one, they did a great job of when they revealed it, and it kind of changes the whole dynamic of the movie after that.
It does. I thought that scene was so amazing because I thought it was going to be a ridiculous, jokey kind of scene, and it was pretty intense. It was good.
And then you had the little girl that kept who looked like the Shining girl.
Mm-hmm.
They'll periodically show up, and then they kind of cleverly don't show her, and then she reappears at the end and has a humongous role in this whole movie.
Yeah.
And I thought they did a great job with that whole thing.
Yeah, and the joke they use to to kind of get out of the whole thing.
Yeah.
The Sam joke is so well done. It seems like a throwaway joke at the beginning, and then it just becomes extremely important at the end. And it's just like, that was so clever. Good job.
And there's that whole freaking ceremony scene at the end is awesome. And again, that's what I say. Like, the movie starts off like here, but I felt like by the end it was up here. So
Yeah, there's a lot of nudity at the end of that movie. It's not nice nudity for the most part.
it's like real. Ever watch that Real Sex show at HBO?
Yeah.
It's like the difference between Hollywood sex scenes and like real sex scenes. Like, oh, this isn't pretty at all.
Yeah, there was some stuff there. It was like, that was one of those scenes where you want to like lean in and then you actually see it and you just want to like lean out. You're like, I don't really need to see much more of that. But yeah.
There were some great parts in this movie too, though, like when Rebecca Romaine gets like stabbed in the head.
Oh yeah, that was well done.
And then again, one of my favorite parts of this movie is when she talks the guy who likes Sam on the phone into coming over, and he thinks he's going to hook up with her, and then she basically like drugs him and then like yanks his intestines out and then puts them on the floor to do some kind of like witch reading of them.
Yeah.
And I'm just going, this scene is awesome.
Yeah, first
it's like
what's coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, because it's that was like, for us who love horror, like this is like horror comedy because this is horrible what's happening to this guy, but it's also kind of funny because they're executing it. And I don't know if this movie works if it's not a comedy.
No, I agree completely. I agree. I feel like doing the horror comedy thing the right way is actually hard. It is very hard because most of the time we see it and it's just like, but she really nailed it. It really did. At the beginning, I think you're right. It's just comedy. And, if comedy's not landing for you, it's not that great. But once they hit that balance, like the last half of this movie, she just really hits her beats. Fucked up, hilarious, screwed up, hilarious, both at the same time. Yep, she nails it.
And the whole the cult, the infighting between the cult was pretty funny.
Yeah. Just silly rich people arguing over stupid stuff. But it's like life and death stuff, but they're arguing about it as if they're high school kids.
Yeah.
So that was well done too. Like I've said, well done 87 times about this movie, so I'm going to stop.
It's a refreshing change from some of the crap we've had to sit through this year.
It really is. And I'm seeing some of the stuff we've got coming up on the docket, and I'm wondering, is there going to be a big push at the end of the year to save this from being as dreadful as it has been up till now? I'm hoping.
Yeah, me too. And these movies keep popping up that we haven't heard of before that, like, oh, okay, what's this one? So hopefully there's some stuff that we don't even know that's coming that's going to...
I hope so.
Because
this was a great surprise for me.
Yeah. All right. So if you still hung around, thanks for joining us, and let us know what you thought. Like I said.
Yeah, and we've got a couple ideas for next week, but we haven't settled on anything yet, so we should know in a day or two here.
Yeah, keep an eye on Twitter and Facebook, and we'll let you know.
Probably going to be another low budget thing. I think everything we threw out there was pretty low budget, right? I don't think anything's hitting the theater that looks interesting.
Yeah, and we're our rent threshold is usually in the $7 range.
That's true. Yeah, I feel like something was coming out, but I don't know if I think isn't the new Rambo movie coming out? Not that we would do that for this, but I can't remember.
Oh, it is.
So if you want to see a 75-year-old man chopping people to bits, that could be your...
If somebody wants to go see that, I'll go see it, but I'm not going to go out of my way to see it.
It's going to be a great fit for us anyway. We got all kinds of other stuff on Shudder we need to get to. And I think we have Creepshow hits on Shudder in maybe 2 weeks, something like that.
Ooh.
So, yeah, I've been really looking forward to that one. So we got some good stuff coming, finally.
Yes.
I'm getting excited. So, all right, my man. Anything else?
All right. Nope. Well done, everybody. Hit us up on Twitter and Facebook, and thanks for coming.
Hunter Shea sucks. Bye.
Yes.